Welcome to the Age Well Home and Lifestyle podcast. I'm your host, Kelly Bradley. I'm the founder of Age Well Home and Lifestyle. This podcast is rooted in one essential truth. To age well and thrive, we must be radically curious. Curious about who we really are, about what truly matters. Curious enough to question everything we've been told so we can finally design a life and home that reflects our truest selves. Here we treat life as our masterpiece. We see ourselves as detectives gathering clues, uncovering our deepest gifts, and consciously curating a lifestyle and home that is both healing and fulfilling. Join me for solo episodes and conversations with guests where I help us get closer to the root of living our best lives in mid-age and beyond. Bill Cohen's loving and talented mother, Sheila, lost her home to Hurricane Katrina. Then she lost her health, ability to create beautiful art, and ultimately her life due to Alzheimer's. For almost 10 years, Bill was her primary caregiver and advocate, not just her son. He turned his personal loss into his passion, supporting other caregivers across North America. After retiring from state employment 8 years ago, Bill is a caregiver support group and memory cafe leader, a podcast guest, a speaker, a certified senior advisor, a trained elder mediator, and a caregiving support consultant. He has completed several caregiving courses through the Alzheimer's Association and the Society for Certified Senior Advisors, and earned business degrees from Boston and Portland State Universities. Bill is a native New Englander and lives in the Portland, Oregon area with his wife and supporter, Lori. So let's dive right in. We're talking about the caregivers today. So often when we are caregiving, we don't focus on ourselves and what happens to the caregiver and how they're feeling. The focus goes on the patient. So Bill, share a bit about your experience with that. What happens with the caregiver when they become the caregiver? And we all are most likely going to become a caregiver at some point in our lives. So this information is not just for the current caregivers, but for everybody. So share.
Or conversely, if you've never been in that position, as you know, we don't have kids, so I've never even done that side of nurturing and caring for somebody. So I'm going to tie in with my mom, but I think what inspired me to do what I'm doing for the caregivers is that what I found is that, rightly so, the emphasis on the person with the disease or condition, including types of dementia, because they can't take care of themselves, they can't make their own decisions. The thing is that who's saying to the caregiver, how are you doing? What support and resources do you need? I found that when I started my journey almost 20 years ago, actually a little bit more, that's where that emphasis was. And I felt like, where's the pamphlet? Where's the treatment? Where's the plan? And how are you doing? What support do you need? And I felt that there was a gaping hole there. So, because caring for yourself is just as important as caring for your loved one. Because something happens to you, who's going to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
If you're stressed out, you're not getting your sleep, you're not eating well, that type of thing, that's going to affect you. And here's a very scary statistic for our caregivers over 70 years of age, 2/3 of the caregivers predecease the person they're caring for.
2/3?
2/3.
That's a big, I did not know it was that big of a number.
Now, once you're getting up to that age, and the thing is, it's tragic, but it's also avoidable.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
If you go to your own doctor's appointments, if you get those breaks, if you get respite, you go for a walk, you get your sleep, get your exercise, eat better, and not just focused on them, but also on yourself, that'll help you maintain your health and take care of them. I had to do a lot of learning back at the beginning myself. I had a full-time job, horrible micromanager boss, 35 miles south of here, and I had to get out of my cubicle and go out for walks. I'd go get a massage. I joined a support group. I did get counseling, And you can imagine the stress and my blood pressure being sky high. Yeah, I got a little medication to control that. Now, fortunately, after my mom passed away, the horrible manager retired due to their own poor health. My blood pressure and stress level came down to perfect. So, but I kept going to that support group, and I became the facilitator, and I'm still leading it today. The one that I first started attending almost 20 years ago. So that's one example of taking care of yourself, getting support, hearing from other people who either have been there or also just starting, whole range. And I lead 2 support groups for that. But that's one of the biggies. That was the first big thing that I did.
And I feel so often, I work with a lot of people, the sandwich generation, the sandwich generation that's tending to their kids, and I'm the sandwich generation tending to their kids. My kids are 16 and 18, so older. I don't have as much tending. And then tending to our parents. And it's a life skill. It's a life skill we're not taught, because even as mothers, when we're tending to our kids, often the mainstream way of thinking is, okay, I got to give. So this conversation is, again, not just for the caregiver, but just a life skill of we always need to put ourselves first. And that's not selfish. It's to say, and for you, this is a good question. Was there a moment for you that you were like, because I'm thinking of the mindset shift, how we can help people realize, okay, I need to shift. And you had said that you started changing your lifestyle. Was there a moment, was there a dark night of the soul, was there a breakdown that caused you to say, okay, I need to do this differently?
Well, first, I think I may have shared with you that since we don't have kids, that I like to call myself the open face sandwich. Exactly. So I think it goes back to when I think about the morning, and I could get into the story a little bit. That my mom lost her home in Hurricane Katrina on the Gulf Coast, and she had been showing signs beforehand. And then the trauma of seeing the house completely swept away, it exacerbated, accelerated her condition. Well, that day changed our lives. We suddenly had to, she and my stepfather, who had evacuated safely, needed help. They needed to get bailed out. And with step family, we all pitched in, but we all had to change what we were doing to make sure that they were okay and get restarted. It was a couple more years before mom moved out here. Now, what I usually tell people is this: whether it's long distance caregiving, which I was doing at first, or here in the same city, which came later after a couple of years, it's not easier, harder, better, or worse. It's just different. Your stress level, your actual physical needs are different, and that's what I had to go through. I kept having to change. It was evolving as we went along, because once I moved her out here, I mean, even when she was on the East Coast, every time the phone rang, I worried, right? Or even when I moved her out here, and I'm at work, and if the care community called, oh my God, what's going on? Fortunately, they were good about saying, don't worry, your mom's fine, but the small thing. That you just never know what's going to happen next. Are they blowing up your phone? And sometimes you just have to say, okay, I don't have to answer that. I can let it go to voicemail, hear if it's really an emergency, or if somebody's with her or she's at a care community, they're at a community, you can verify they're okay. But some people will answer, oh, I'm going to answer every time they call. And right, no matter what, and no matter what time of day it is. What if it's 3 o'clock in the morning and they don't realize that? Where am I? I want to go home. That type of thing. So you do have to change your mindset. And like I said, support group, exercise, getting a massage. You mentioned self-care. No, it's not selfish. It's vital.
Exactly.
No
Vital.
matter
We
what
got
form it takes.
that idea of putting your oxygen mask on first, and really, and again, I put in the words of lifestyle design to consciously curate your life you're the caregiver, so say I'm the caregiver, the caregiver's life, consciously curating, what do you want? You still matter. How does your daily life flow from morning to night? And then along with that, the person you're caring for, what's best for them, and then working on weaving that lifestyle together. So both people, because we're all aging, and again, I focus on aging well in our homes and lives, and both people, we all matter. We all matter, not one more important than the other. So when you're working with families, how do you talk to them about beginning that shift from, okay, it's not all about the person you're caring for. We have this mindset shift of, okay, I do need to care for myself. What's kind of that first action that you ask them to start doing or trying to make that change?
Well, whether they work with me individually or not, or I do stress again, a support group is so helpful because you're hearing from people who are going through similar situations at different stages, different times. I like to say about my groups, there are some support groups that are specialized, like women only, men only, LGBTQ, young adults, adult children, that type of thing. My groups are all ages, all genders, all relationships, all types and stages of dementia. And so we have people anywhere from their 30s to their 80s, and either it could be just starting their journey to their former caregivers. And the information is invaluable. I still quote some things that I heard back almost 20 years ago. Like one of them is, if they get mad at you or you think you screwed up, you made a mistake, don't worry. An hour later or the next day, you get to start all over again. I forgot about it.
Oh, that's a positive or a and this is a way, the way we look at things. You know, again, it's our life situation, and we have to laugh at it a little. We have to find the joy. We have to find the moments of delight. And just like that, it's like, it is what it is, and we can have fun with it.
And I did the best I could to make my mom laugh. I use improv, for instance, improvisation. For as a quick example, I couldn't take her to movies anymore because she spent half the time in the bathroom. So when she'd ask, "Can we go to a movie? Is there any good movies out there?" I would just say whatever the first movie that came into my head. Oh, Mom, how about Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid? How about Casablanca? How about Titanic? These are all older movies, but she was getting an answer. She didn't know any difference. It wasn't doing any harm. She's getting the answer that she wanted. And I was having a laugh at Mom's expense inside.
Yes. You were having a laugh,
right,
which again increases our good hormone levels. We need that. So I love that. Laughter as a form of medicine. Whether the other person's laughing or not, or they get it, it doesn't really matter.
Right. But I would even quote, most of us, even if they're not baseball fans, know who Yogi Berra was, because he had all these what seemed like nonsensical sayings like, "Mom, you can observe a lot just by watching." Oh, yeah. If you come to a fork in the road, take it.
Yeah. I love it. So what I'm hearing is not just that when we're taking care of ourselves, it again doesn't have to be just us taking care of ourselves. The self-care, the exercise, all of that stuff that we're weaving into our daily lives is important. But finding those things that we can also do together to help both people, the caregiver and the person needing help, to feel their best, to move out of the heaviness of the situation. So to lighten up the situation. What are some more things? I love that. So laughter, go through a few other things. I know you mentioned you specifically got massages and things like that. What are other things?
That became a necessity, not a luxury.
Yeah,
I continue to this day.
Right, and I love that you said that, necessity versus luxury, because something I literally was just writing about this morning is that lifestyle design, oftentimes people think of interior design, lifestyle design as a luxury. Like, who has time for coaching and mentoring around that stuff? It's easy. It's not a luxury. If we can consciously curate our lives to help not only ourselves heal, but the person we're taking care of, everyone thrives. So it's not a luxury or an extra. It's literally a life skill that we're just not taught, or we don't talk about in the mainstream world.
So I'd like to share a couple of concepts. It was a course that I've taught in the past that I was trained for called Savvy Caregiver, which is a evidence-based program or approach out of Emory University. And unfortunately, during the pandemic, we had to stop doing it. I haven't been able to resume. But a couple of concepts came out of like this. One was, if I gave you a fairy godmother, but instead of wishes, it would be, I will give you blocks of time, whether it's an hour, an afternoon, a whole day, a long weekend, a week, no caregiving responsibilities. What would you do with that time?
I love that.
And the whole idea is that, oh boy, if I had an hour to go have coffee with a friend or get a massage, I would love that. And they start thinking, how can I make that happen? So I get my rest, but get my break that I need. Now then the other part becomes, and I remember one person, I know exactly who it was, where she says, I can't think beyond an hour. I can't conceive of getting that time away from my loved one with dementia. And it was very frustrating for her. I mean, we pushed her into giving some answers. Okay, if you had a weekend, what would we do? A lot of them is, I'll go to a hotel and get some sleep.
Yes, right? The basics.
Exactly.
The basics.
Exactly. So then it becomes, how do I get that break? And because it comes down to support, and that can come from many sources. It isn't just family, and sometimes family is not nearby. They may be across the country, or for whatever reasons, they don't want to get involved or they can't help. We can talk about that a little bit, how you can kind of get them involved perhaps, or get rid of unsolicited advice. That's a big one.
Challenges.
Right. So with that in mind, support can come from family, neighbors, friends, ex-coworkers, charitable organizations like your church or synagogue, other nonprofits, things like that, social services. Sometimes all you have to do is ask. Because people,
And that's hard.
Right.
That's hard sometimes.
it is hard because you don't want to be a burden. You don't want to, you don't want to be rejected. They might say no. And all they can do is say yes or no, right? But it depends upon if you say that, okay, can you pick up the dry cleaning? Can you order some things for me? Can you have a son or a daughter, maybe they can mow the lawn for us. Little things, right? Every little thing. Make a list of all those different jobs you do. You're the cook, you're the nurse, you're the finance person. You're now doing everything that you used to share doing together, right? Yeah. Or they had somebody else helping them. And that's hard for people to comprehend. So I like to use an example of sometimes you just have to ask, where mom was, it was a very good care community when she was in memory care. It was the last couple of weeks before she passed away. Now, the care was exceptional. The coffee, institution.
Oh, you can bring in your own coffee, especially around here.
Close. Because this is there was a norovirus quarantine. And my aunt and I were the only ones who were allowed in the building besides staff and the residents, because the new mom was getting close. I go on social media and I said, can somebody please bring me a mocha? 2 different friends showed up from 2 different coffee stands.
Oh, I love it.
I know who they are and I know which stands they're at, but it's more that they did that because I asked and they were happy to show up at the front desk. So,
Yeah, asking for help. And so often asking for help brings out even more friends, and we realize that we actually like to be asked to do things. We often think everybody has life all under control, but really we all need that help. Again, that idea of it takes a tribe, it takes a group, it takes a community, and it makes it more enjoyable. I love like just the coffee thing.
And by the way, some people, they don't think they're caregivers because they're not doing hands-on. But if they are helping in any way, whether it's financial or giving a respite for a few days or running errands or taking them to an appointment, your loved one with dementia, you are a caregiver. You are part of the caregiving team. We called, the picture behind me is my mom in memory care, and we called it Team Sheila, which became my name for my walk to end Alzheimer's team.
Ah, yes.
Yes, of course. So, yeah, there's a lot of things. And you just need to keep that list of things, and if somebody asks, you can say, oh, hey, can you do this for me? Everybody wants to help.
Yeah.
And the other side is, if you have a friend or relative that's going through this, and you don't know what to do, and they're not asking for help, hey, just show up.
I love
Go
that.
take a break, go have coffee, go for a walk, I'll watch them. Or bring a casserole, for crying out loud. I mean, who shows up without empty-handed, right?
Yeah. Even flowers, a bit of joy, a bit of whatever the foods they love compared to something for the person you're caring for. This reminds me, when I was in graduate school, I slept over. A job that I had was I slept over at a couple's house on a cot next to a woman who, she had MS, and the husband wanted to get full night's sleeps. So I would sleep over on, it wasn't even a cot, it was just a mattress on the floor, but that was my job a few nights a week, and it was great for me because in graduate school I thought I didn't need sleep, and I was young and I could tolerate it, even though looking back I'm like, what was I thinking, like waking up in the middle of the night?
Right.
But again, it was the husband, again, knowing now at 49, what I didn't fully understand then, he needed a rest. He reached out to the graduate school. We were right across from his home, and graduate students would just sleep over and help tend to her during the night. Because then he could wake up fresh and feel re-energized to be the best version of himself that next day. Whereas he realized when he didn't get a good night's sleep, he was grumpy and he felt anger, and none of that helps anybody.
And you as a mother and other people who are parents will understand that, because your sleep is interrupted by kids, unfortunately. Stuff happens.
Exactly.
Not just because they're needy or what have you. Stuff happens, and that's very important, because not just for your rest, but it clears out the brain with all the crap that they're saying probably causes dementia. So if you want to, one thing you can do, if nothing else in this conversation about lowering your risk, get your Z's. Very, very important.
Right.
7, 8 hours, hopefully uninterrupted.
100%. Quality sleep. And that's sometimes easier said than done.
So I mentioned something before, I think I don't want to forget it, is that sometimes I was very fortunate with especially my family's very supportive. My wife was very supportive. I was the primary guy. I was power of attorney and all that. My 2 aunts had a lot of opinions, but they always had my mom's best interests at heart. And they knew my name was on the legal papers. I had the final decision. I would listen to them and let them know, okay, agree or disagree, what have you, and we'll move forward. And they'd understand that I was also going in my mom's best interest. However, there are family members who have ulterior motives or unsolicited advice, or they say they can't help. So when that happens, and again, it goes back to, hey, can you help with these little things? I don't need you to do the hands-on caregiving. Can you help order things? Can you handle the finances? Write some checks, blah, blah, so forth. So little things, that's not too much of a burden for them. Also, when you're getting into, they'll make suggestions but not help, right? You should be doing this, right? So what I tell them is, you can say one of 2 things, or you can say this and you'll get one of 2 responses, which are both good. Okay, that's a great idea. Why don't you take that on?
Oh, I like that one.
And either they're going to shut up, which is a win, or they're going to do it, which is also a win.
I love that because oftentimes when people give you advice, subconsciously we take it on like, am I not doing enough? Am I not doing this right? Oh my God. So right away to have that response, I love that. Just in general life, I love, I love that. Why don't you do that one?
And related to that is unsolicited advice or hidden agendas. And if they do that, what I usually suggest is just say, that's an interesting idea, I'll consider it, and then ignore it, especially if it is not in the person with dementia's best interest or yours.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that too, because again, you don't take it on. You don't take it on. You have, and I feel like, again, the work you do, support groups, giving people the tools and strategies to know right away what to do with stuff like that, so that they don't hold it on, they don't hold it longer. I think of, again, that heaviness, challenges, life, it can get heavy. So the more strategies and tools we have like that, everything that you've spoken about and we've spoken about today, the lighter we can make the situations, the better. So to know beforehand, to have these tools, or to know, okay, I had this situation today and I have my support group, I have my mentor, coach, guide, whatever, to bring this to this week. I'm just going to keep a note of this and then talk to the group and other people so that I have a better way to deal with it all. Yeah. I love that.
Absolutely. Very important.
Okay, so share a bit about the groups that you do. I know you do them locally and virtually. So share a bit about how you work with people and how you help families.
So you're talking about individually.
Exactly. Individually or groups, your support groups, anything.
Actually, a good segue in that is that, again, after Mom passed away, I kept going to that support group through the Alzheimer Association here in Tualatin, or I was in Tigard at the time. And I thought I would go for a little while and then I just leave, go for a little bit, help others go through the process like others helped me. And what I wasn't expecting is, make a long story short, I became the facilitator. Still leading that group today.
And you're still leading
right.
it.
And that's monthly. And then the other one is weekly. It's tied to the Marquee community in Tualatin. But I also thought, as I was approaching my retirement, from a completely unrelated state job with ODOT, Department of Transportation, that I was just going to do more of that, more volunteer work. I came across this concept of the caregiving support consultant. And again, it goes back to what I was saying, that where's the support for the caregiver, right? Now, there are people that are similar to what I do, but not exactly. The aging life care or geriatric care managers, and they're like caseworkers, they're medical people, they're social work type professionals. And I am not that, although I kind of act like one without doing the medical side. And what I found was, again, there's a gap to take care of the caregivers so they can not only take care of their loved one, but take care of them. So I provide advice, support, and resources. I help people put together their care team and their care plan. I collaborate with all the different partners and advisors. It could be housing, it could be home care, it could be elder law, you name it. I help put together that team as needed. Sometimes it also delves into a family and or care community or other professionals care conference. And then, in some cases, some families can't decide on ordering pizza for dinner, let alone caring for their loved one. I can go into elder mediation. When a family's at an impasse, bring everybody together, keep them talking, and come to an agreement that nobody's going to get everything they want, but they'll come to an agreement that everybody can live with. So sometimes it delves, there's a kind of gray area in between that can help people with. But it all comes down to relieving stress. I mean, they're feeling overwhelmed, isolated, stressed out. not getting enough sleep, that type of thing. They don't know where to turn, and that's where I come in. So they do sleep better at night. They don't worry about their loved one as much, and I help with that. I needed someone like me.
Yeah. So many, two things I'm thinking. One, I love that you continued to go to the group, and I love that people can continue, because I can imagine that when a big life transition happens, when that person does transition, if the support group was taken away right away, that's another grief. So it's not only the grief of the human that's transitioned, but then it would be the grief of the support group that probably helped them hold themselves together. So I love the idea of continuing the support group and having people in a support group that not only are caregivers, but were past caregivers too and have experienced it, and just like you, who have now gone on to make that part of their life, soul work in the world.
I actually used the phrase that I turned my personal loss, my pain, into my passion.
Yep. Huge. I personally believe all of our adversities, all of our pains, that's why they're there, for us to lean into them, feel into them, experience them fully, and uncover how we can then transmute that into helping others and being of service in the world. Fantastic. So your website, share your website, and all of this will be in the show notes and all of that too. But share it here too.
So it's very similar to my business name, Cohen, C-O-H-E-N, Cohen, caregivingsupport.com.
Fantastic. And both local and virtual.
Right, and I can help people all over the country and even into Canada.
Thank you, Bill. I appreciate you so much, and continue being of service like you are. So thank you.
You too. It's been fun.
Thanks for tuning in to the Age Well Home and Lifestyle podcast. If this episode sparks something in you, share it with a friend or family member. Let it be the start of a real-life, meaningful conversation, because that's how we grow together. And I'd love to hear from you. What topics are you curious about? What questions are on your mind? Reach out and let's keep the conversation going. Until next time, stay curious, live true, and keep creating a life and home that's aligned with your truest self.